Hey car owners, Brian here, your honest mechanic. In today's video, we're looking into a problem that's probably made more than a few of you grip your steering wheel a little tighter. That annoying vibration you feel when you hit the brakes. You know the one I'm talking about, right? That shuddering that makes you wonder if your car is about to shake itself apart. Well, buckle up because we're going to get to the bottom of this. Before we jump in, if you find this video helpful, please do me a solid and press that like button. And if you want more straight-talking car advice, subscribe to the channel. All right, let's get into it. When your steering wheel starts doing the shaking or vibrating every time you brake, it's usually pointing to an issue with your braking system or front suspension. But here's the kicker. It's not always just one thing. Cars are complex beasts, and sometimes problems like to team up and really ruin your day. Let's start with the most common culprit, warped brake rotors. Now I know what you're thinking. Brian, my rotors look fine. But here's the thing. Warping isn't always visible to the naked eye. These rotors deal with a ton of heat every time you brake. Over time, that heat can cause small deformations. When your brake pads try to grip these not-so-smooth rotors, boom, you've got vibration city. But hold on, we're not done yet. Sometimes it's not the rotors themselves, but how they're sitting on your wheel hub. If your wheel bearings are worn out, they can allow the rotor to wobble slightly. It might not seem like much, but at high speeds, that tiny wobble translates into a steering wheel that feels like it's trying to escape your grip. Now let's talk brake pads for a second. If your pads are wearing unevenly, they're not going to grip the rotor properly. It's like trying to stop a bicycle with only half your hand on the brake lever. Not ideal, right? This uneven wear can come from a stuck caliper, which brings us to our next potential troublemaker. Brake calipers play a vital role in your braking system. They squeeze the pads against the rotors, creating the friction that stops your car. But if a caliper gets stuck, it can cause all sorts of havoc. It might not release properly, leading to constant friction and heat buildup, or it might not engage fully, causing uneven braking. Either way, you're in for steering wheel vibrations. But wait, there's more. Sometimes the problem isn't in your braking system at all. It could be your suspension. Worn control arm bushings, ball joints, or tie rods can all lead to excess movement in your front end. When you hit the brakes and transfer all that weight forward, these worn components can amplify any existing vibrations. And let's not forget about wheel alignment. If your wheels aren't pointing exactly where they should be, it can cause uneven tire wear. This might not seem like a big deal, but when you brake hard, those tiny imperfections in your tire can suddenly steering wheel shake. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Brian, my car only vibrates when I brake at high speeds. Well, here's a fun fact for you. Brake rotors can actually develop hot spots. These are areas that have been subjected to more heat than the rest of the rotor. They might not cause issues during normal driving, but hit those brakes at highway speeds and suddenly your steering wheel is shaking. So, how do we fix this? Well, that depends on what's causing the problem. If it's warped rotors, you might be able to have them resurfaced, but honestly, in most cases, you're better off replacing them. It's not just about stopping the vibration, it's about ensuring your brakes are working at their best. After all, they're kind of important, right? If it's your brake pads, replace them. Don't cheap out here, folks. Good brake pads are worth their weight in gold. And while you're at it, make sure your calipers are moving freely. A little brake grease on the caliper slides can work wonders. For suspension issues, it's best to get a thorough inspection. Replacing worn components isn't always cheap, but it's a lot less expensive than dealing with a major failure down the road. Now here's a pro tip for you. If you're replacing your rotors, take a close look at your wheel hubs. If there's any rust or debris built up where the rotor sits, clean it off. A perfectly good rotor on a dirty hub can still cause vibrations. And speaking of wheels, don't forget about balance. An out-of-balance wheel might not cause problems during normal driving, but slam on the brakes and suddenly it's like you're riding a mechanical bull. Most tire shops will balance your wheels for a reasonable fee, and trust me, it's worth it. Here's another thing to consider. Your brake fluid. I know, it doesn't seem related, but old, contaminated brake fluid can cause all sorts of issues, including a soft brake pedal. This might not directly cause vibrations, but it can make existing problems feel worse. If you can't remember the last time you changed your brake fluid, it's probably time.